every Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday at 6 p.m.
Welcome, my daily companions. We meet again today for a debate. Today's topic is special. Special in that it touches on the very essence of life. It's about abortion, which means the induced expulsion of a human fetus. Every year, tens of millions of babies are not born because of an abortion. A figure that exceeds the population of many countries. This act is sometimes justified by science and by several laws in our countries, which unfortunately are full of Christians. The question is, should a Christian have an abortion? The question concerns both men and women. As usual, we have guests with whom we will exchange opinions. We'll have Pastor Paul and his wife Rebecca, whom you'll get to know through this debate. We'll also have the gynecologist and obstetrician, Mr. Didier. And last but not least, we have Mr. Christian. Before we begin the debate, I invite you to follow this animation carefully.
Hi, Mom.
Yes, hello, daughter. How are you?
It's okay, Mom. Mom, I wanted to tell you something.
Talk to me, my daughter. What's the matter? You don't talk anymore?
I'm pregnant, Mom.
God, what are you? Who would I say that to? How can you get pregnant out of wedlock? And who's the father?
I don't know yet, Mom. I couldn't say.
Wait, am I dreaming or what? Don't tell me you don't know who got you pregnant.
It's hard to say, Mom.
What are you telling me, Diane? What's hard to say? In fact, since when did you start dating? I thought you were still innocent, shouting from the rooftops that my daughter was still a virgin. But now you've put me to shame. Who's the author?
I can't, Mom.
What's wrong with you? Don't make me expose you in church in front of the pastor.
If you do, you'll expose the pastor too.
I'm going to explain the pastor in what way. You yourself are the bad sheep, not the shepherd who leads us. Is it the pastor who encourages you to spread your legs to men?
He's the one who got me pregnant.
What are you telling me here?
It was the pastor who impregnated me.
Sacrilege. How is it possible?
We saw each other often, and he'd convinced me that he wanted to marry me, and that it's safe to have sex.
Shut your mouth. He forced your leg apart. Church elders, that's what's going on now. My daughter is pregnant by our pastor. How to deal with this?
I already suspected our young pastor, but you didn't believe me. That's the fallout. I don't see what's to be done about it other than the fact that your daughter will give birth to a child out of wedlock.
And what are we going to tell the faithful? That our pastor, who is supposed to lead us on the path of truth, has been fornicating, and worse, with the daughter of the church elder that I am. I really don't know with what face I'll see God's people. What examples will we be setting for God's people?
This story really saddens me. It's not worthy of us who are supposed to lead God's people. It's our own fault. We ourselves chose a young single pastor to lead us. We knew very well that it was a risk we were taking, but we did it. Now it's time to take responsibility. I think we should apply the established laws and impose the agreed sanctions on those involved.
What sanctions are you talking about, Claire?
Your daughter will be destabilized from her duties, as will the pastor responsible for her pregnancy. They will become mere faithful. We won't be able to allow your daughter to continue to stand at the altar as leader of the musical group, at a time when she and the pastor in charge of the service are fornicating. We have to be strict about this, so that it doesn't happen again in the future.
If it was your daughter, would you excommunicate her from her group? Are you a saint yourself, if we're really going to apply the law to the rule?
In any case, we can't put the pastor in the pew and reduce him to the rank of a simple worshiper. Not only would we risk losing the trust of the faithful, but we'd also run the risk of tampering with the church coffers. There are worshippers who celebrate with us just because of this pastor. You've seen for yourself that since he's been here, we've had more money coming in.
That's my God. So you prefer to lead God's people into lies just because of the money and fame you have in the church. Listen to me carefully. I'm not going to keep quiet about this. If one day it happens to one of my daughters or sons, do the same.
Let's find an amicable solution, Sister Claire. If we expose ourselves, it won't be good. I suggest we cover this up. If Sister Sarah agrees, we'll get her daughter out of town as soon as her belly starts to show. We'll place her far away, and after the birth she can simply come back. As for the pastor, we'll let him carry on with his ministry as normal.
You're going to put my daughter in. She's not the only one to blame. Besides, I know how to solve this problem. Don't worry. Assume it's already taken care of.
And what do you plan to do about it?
That's none of your business.
What do you plan to do? Tell us so we can think with you.
It's no longer necessary. I'll take care of it myself. My daughter, I've had a talk with the church elders about your condition. They want you to undergo the sanctions imposed by church law.
Okay, I have no choice. I accept the sanctions. Perhaps God can forgive me if I acknowledge my mistake.
I won't allow you to have these sanctions. You can't go through with this. I refuse. The pastor can't go free as if nothing had happened, and you'll be suspended from your duties at the church. I can't stand the shame. We'll get rid of this pregnancy.
Mom, don't let people find out about this.
What's wrong with that? You think the elders' decision is normal? Besides, it's a disgrace for me that my daughter is pregnant out of wedlock and without a father. If the pastor agrees to suffer the same fate and is ready to acknowledge your pregnancy publicly, you'll keep it otherwise. Lying isn't a sin.
All right then. Anyway, I have no choice. I haven't even finished school yet.
I'll take you to the doctor.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm fine. What do you want to talk to me about? Be quick. I don't want the elders to see us
So
together.
you're as scared of the elders as you are of me. Why do you let them decide for you? After all, this is between you and me. According to God's recommendations, we've been at odds since the first time we were intimate. You promised to marry me and that it would never happen again, but unfortunately the pregnancy came later. Now we have to take responsibility. Take responsibility and suffer the penalties laid down by the church in this regard. We'll be able to get together and raise our child even if the church no longer wishes to bless us.
What you're saying sounds simple, but in reality it's inconceivable to me. My ministry is at stake, Diane. Do you want me to give up everything to become a simple worshiper? Worst of all, even if I accept the sanctions, afterwards, it will be difficult if not impossible for me to continue my ministry as a pastor. Since I won't be married according to church standards, I can't just give up Diane. I didn't think our mistake would turn into a pregnancy. I had prayed and asked for God's mercy, but now pregnancy complicates everything. But we only did it once.
So you'd rather leave me alone in this affair and pretend? As if it's all my fault? I'm going to do my mother's bidding, so I'll get rid of the pregnancy.
But why?
I refuse to raise a child in secret for a so-called man of God who can't acknowledge his paternity and faults publicly. I don't want to suffer the shame of fornication alone as you continue to preach to me in church as if nothing had happened. I refuse to carry this heavy burden in my life.
I'm not getting involved in this abortion business.
Either you accept your sanctions and we'll both suffer. If you don't, you already know my decision.
It's just not possible.
Good day to you.
You're free now, young lady. You won't have to worry anymore. Everything has been removed.
Thank you, doctor. Now I can start my life again. I hope it's as safe as you said it would be, doctor.
Of course it will be. The method I use is always safe and I've never had any negative feedback in almost 20 years.
Thank you very much, doctor. I'm free now. I'll never make that mistake again. I'm going to save myself until I meet the man of my life. What a decision you're making concerning your daughter's pregnancy and her relationship with our young pastor.
It's already ancient history. This pregnancy no longer exists. It was the quickest and most discreet solution to protect my daughter, and it allows you to keep your pastor's dignity.
No, it was the worst solution you could have chosen. Sin has become double.
Forget it, sister.
Honey, I don't understand what's going on. We've been married for 5 years and you've never given me a miscarriage. The doctors think we're both very fertile, but I don't understand why we can't conceive.
I'm tired, darling. I don't even understand why it's like this. The doctor even reassured me that it's not linked to my past. But it's strange. I don't understand anything. I've fasted and prayed, but nothing.
I think we should see a man of God to help us.
Welcome, Pastor.
Thank you for inviting me into your home.
It's a pleasure, Pasteur.
Today is the end of our fast concerning your conception problem. Much has been revealed to me. Sister Diane, your problem is linked to your past.
You mean abortion?
Of course I do.
But I've already prayed and fasted about that mistake, and confessed everything to my husband.
She's right, Pastor.
I agree, my dears. But there are mistakes that are sometimes irreparable even after forgiveness and conversion. God alone can be gracious, and it depends on His will. Your wife aborted the one and only child she should have in this life. It's true that she's not sterile, as the doctors say, but don't forget that it's God who gives children. It's not enough just to be fertile. You have obstructed God's plan by putting an end to the life of a human being that God took care of creating. Even after prayer, we must hope for God's grace. We must continue to pray and believe in God's goodness. He alone has the last word.
I have no power. Let all things be done to me according to your will.
We're back on the set. I hope you enjoyed our first animation. Let's move on to the second animation.
Where am I? What am I doing in this car?
Shut the fuck up. You think you're in your living room here? You think being a pastor's kid keeps you out of trouble? We're going to show your father that after God, it's us. He dares to defy us.
One thing's for sure, you're not God.
We'll talk, you talk. We'll see if in a few minutes you still can.
What are you going to do to me? Let me in.
It'll be in your dreams.
Honey, what happened here?
I came home to find the room in this state too. I don't know what happened.
But they all broke in the bedroom. Where is our daughter?
I've been calling her and she won't pick up.
Oh my God, she stayed home today. She's not working.
Do you think she'll be in danger?
It's possible because her room is open and she's breaking things too.
My God, what could have happened around here?
Where is my daughter?
And she's the one calling.
Thank goodness. Let her have the phone.
Can you calm down a bit so I can take the call?
I'll do it.
Hello?
Who's calling, please?
I'm Brigitte's father, the one who owns this number you're using. Who are you?
I'm nobody. I just want to tell you and your wife that I have something that belongs to you.
What do you have of us? Quickly return the laptop to the owner.
Be gentle, darling. You have to coax them.
You want to threaten me, don't you? Let me give you a taste.
He's slapping Daddy.
It's over. My daughter's with them. They've kidnapped my only child.
Sir, what do you want? Why were you messing with my daughter?
I blame you and your family.
Forgive me, sir. Leave our daughter alone.
Who are you, if you're really a man, Surface?
You don't know who you're talking to. I want $30,000 in exchange for your daughter.
What's wrong with you? You kidnapped my daughter, and then you asked me for this huge sum again. Where do you want me to find this money? Do I have to become a thief and a swindler like you to get it? I'll call the police on you.
If you dare, your daughter will die. Besides, she's already suffering properly here. You have exactly 24 hours to send me the requested sum. As soon as you have the money, call me back and I'll tell you what to do.
You'll hear from me, you swindler. He cut me off.
I told you to take it easy with these people. Our daughter's in danger. It's up to us to be gentle with them. Now you've upset him. How are we going to do it now?
There's nothing we can do. We're not giving that man any money. That's swindling. Besides, where am I going to get that kind of money?
Tin, but we can't leave our daughter there. I've got the tontine money in my account. That'll be about $20,000. We can use it until we pay it back.
And where are we going to find the rest?
Sorry, darling. Please complete. I know you can.
I'd hate to waste my money, honey. Save your guy's money. I'm going to the police right now. What are the new police officers?
We managed to locate his position, but before we get there he eludes us every time.
This is serious. My wife is going to go crazy over this.
I've got an idea. Call him and tell him you have the ransom money. Then let us know where you're meeting and we'll take care of the rest.
And I'll lose my money?
We'll get your money back. It won't escape us with our method of attack.
Okay, it's a deal.
Hey, Lord. My daughter's alive. Don't cry. Don't cry. Come into my arms.
Thank you, Chief, for your help. Thanks to you, we were able to stop that psychopath.
You're so welcome.
Chérie, your daughter has been crying ever since we got home.
It's normal. She's been through a lot of trauma. She'll get over it, I'm sure. Give her time.
Yes, but I have the impression that she has something to tell us but is ashamed.
In time, she'll find herself a darling. Don't you worry.
All right, but we've got to get her to hospital.
Okay, the doctor will come to the house. There you are at last. I was worried. How is she?
I've got 2 pieces of bad news and 1 piece of
Oh
good
dear,
news for you.
what's the bad news?
Your daughter has been raped and is pregnant.
What?
My goodness.
So what's the good news?
You can still terminate your pregnancy without complication or danger.
Or hell no. Never in my lifetime. I'm not going to let my daughter terminate a pregnancy. It's against my convictions and my Christian
It's
faith.
the best solution, sir. You're not doing anything serious to your daughter. On the contrary, you're protecting her from danger. Do you want a fatherless grandson whose mother has been raped? Do you have any idea how much this child will suffer in society? And do you think your daughter will be respected and honored by society and even by your religion? I don't think your daughter can withstand the humiliation and depression of rape. Please, dear sir, trust me, and let's get this pregnancy out of the way so that your daughter can go on with a more or less normal life, and so that this story doesn't become public knowledge. If you really love your daughter, this is the best solution. What's more, you'll be protected by the law.
Do you know who you're talking to? Do you find it normal for a pastor to authorize this abominable act on his own daughter?
You're a pastor, but that doesn't change my proposal.
I refuse. Don't do this to my daughter. If God has allowed her to be in this state, only He knows why. Don't even touch my child's hair or that of my grandson.
But darling, the doctor isn't suggesting anything wrong. On the contrary, it's for the good of our daughter. You yourself know that the church does not tolerate fornication or children born in adultery. Our daughter has already lost her virginity in this affair. We mustn't punish her by letting this pregnancy drag on. Just imagine how the faithful will look at your daughter. Besides, it does us no credit.
Oh, darling, what makes you think like that? Apparently you need deliverance. I no longer recognize the faithful, devout woman I married. How can you want to abort your only daughter? Have you considered God's will? In any case, I don't want to hear any more about your diabolical proposal. Let my daughter carry her pregnancy. If this child should not come into this world, God was not going to allow its formation. On the contrary, we must pray to Him to help us make the right choice. Don't forget that a child born of rape also has a soul and a clan of God over his or her life. An ill-conceived child can also have a bright future. I don't even know what depression my God can't relieve. Let God decide everything.
Okay, sir, your will be respected.
Welcome back to the set. It's time for the debate. Pastor Paul, you have the floor.
Thank you for giving me the floor. May God bless you. The Bible does not use the term abortion to refer to the induced expulsion of a human fetus. However, Many verses in the Bible give us God's view of human life, even that of an unborn child. Life is a gift from God. To him, every life is precious, even that of a baby in its mother's womb. So deliberately killing an unborn child is tantamount to murder. The law Jehovah gave to the Israelites stated, if men fight and he hits a pregnant woman and she gives birth prematurely, but the accident is not fatal, the guilty party must pay the indemnity that the woman's husband imposes on him. He will have to pay it through the judges. But if the accident is fatal, he will have to give life for life.
I can see the great gynecologist raising his finger. I'm sure he has a clarification or question for you, dear pastor. Without stealing your words, let me take the doctor's advice.
I'd just like to ask the pastor when life begins according to the Bible.
Thank you, doctor. Pastor Paul, you have the floor again.
Thank you for the question. If we read Psalm 139 verse 16, King David was inspired by God and spoke to him saying, "Your eyes saw me when I was just an embryo," which means that God considered David to be a full-fledged person even before he was born. Also, if we read Jeremiah 1 verse 5, God says to the prophet Jeremiah, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, and before you were born, I sanctified you. I made you a prophet to the nations." These Bible verses testify that God considers the life of a human being to begin at conception. God always presents an unborn child as a whole person. I hope I've answered the doctor's question correctly. On that note, I'll stop here.
Dear gynecologist, the floor is yours.
I totally agree with the pastor on everything he just said. I'm also a doctor. I had some interruptions that I now regret, so I fully agree with his development and thank him for his teachings. But I must admit that there are sometimes complicated cases where we are obliged to resort to abortion. I can cite the case where, during childbirth, a medical emergency forces us to choose between the life of the mother and the life of the child. In most cases, men and families prefer to save the mother at the expense of the child. Does this mean that God must always be against terminating a pregnancy? There are many other cases, such as extrauterine pregnancies, pregnancies that occur after rape, and pregnancies that reveal a future baby with malformations or a sickle cell baby. In these extreme cases, termination is the best medical solution. And I don't think there will ever be a better one.
I see Mr. Christian is very excited. I'd like to remind you that Mr. Christian is our special guest today. He's a living testimony. You have the floor, Mr. Christian.
Thank you for giving me the floor. First of all, I'd like to give this testimony to show God's greatness. You can't imagine how immense God's ways and means are. If you see me before you today, it means that God can do anything. My dear doctor, abortion is not the last resort for the extreme cases you have just mentioned. I tell you, my brothers and sisters, the last resort is God and God alone. I am this child born of rape. I never knew my father. And worst of all, I was born sickle cell anemic. I thank my God who inspired my mother and her parents to keep me alive, because today they don't regret their choice. I'm in very good health because God helped me to survive and overcome this disease that I have in spite of myself and against the will of my mother, who was innocent like me. Today I have a stable life. I'm the father of 2 healthy children. I recognize that it's a grace that I have, but I have faith in my God whom I adore, that he never fails when the situation becomes complicated and there's no other way out. The word declares whoever believes will see the glory of God.
Mr. Christian, I'm glad you're healthy and normal today. Science is evolving day by day, and treatment methods are becoming more and more sophisticated. But here, we're talking about the general case. How many sickle cell children reach maturity? I can't go on and on about the families who have ruined themselves trying to keep their sick child alive. It's very complicated, Mr. Christian, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone. It's a sometimes eternal struggle between life and death. Don't forget that not everyone will have the grace you have in your life.
Thanks to our 2 brothers for their contributions. I confess I'm excited to speak too, but before I do, I'd like to hear the voice of the only woman in the debate. Let's not forget that women are the first to be affected by this subject. Sister Rebecca, you have the floor.
Thank you all very much. I think all opinions make sense in this debate. I don't have much to say other than to say that the extreme cases the doctor mentioned are really rare. More than 95% of abortions performed in the world today involve women who simply don't want to have children. Less than 5% are due to rape, incest, or to save the mother's life. Even in the difficult 5% of cases, abortion should never be the first choice. The life of a human being in the womb is worth every effort to allow it to be born. Let's avoid destroying God's plan. People at risk of consanguinity and sickle cell anemia should not pair up. Let the state also take steps to punish rapists appropriately so that they stop their vice.
Thank you all for your various contributions. I really enjoyed it. I hope our viewers enjoyed it too. My contribution to this debate will first be about the first animation we all followed. Personally, I think the elders of the Sauve Claire Church were all wrong. They had supported the pastor on the one hand and encouraged Diane's abortion on the other. Because Diane's mother, Sarah, was also a member of this committee of elders. As Claire said, abortion was the wrong way to hide the pregnancy resulting from fornication within the church. The better choice would be to reveal herself before God's people and suffer the punishment that was due. The Bible doesn't teach us to live in fornication, but if it happens and pregnancy occurs, we'll have to face up to it. Fornication is a sin like any other that our God can forgive if we truly convert. More, there's no question of interrupting a pregnancy that God has already blessed. If we turn to the second animation, which is the case of rape, just know that you can't repair one injustice with another. A child born of rape or incest can be given up for adoption to a loving family, unable to conceive children of their own, or raised by its mother. Once again, the child is innocent and should not be used as a scapegoat for his father's crime. The last case, which in all honesty I find very complicated, is when the mother's health is in danger. First of all, we must bear in mind that these cases represent a very negligible percentage of abortions performed in the world today. Far more women have abortions for personal convenience than to save their lives. Secondly, let's remember that God is a God of miracles, who can save the life of both mother and child against all medical prognoses. Ultimately, this decision is between the couple and God. Any couple facing this extremely difficult situation should pray to the Lord for wisdom, and that He will show them His will. I know there are many people who have done this in the past, either voluntarily, through ignorance, or have found themselves in one of these complicated cases. To these people, I would say to remember that this sin is no less forgivable than any other. Through faith in Christ, all sins can be forgiven. A woman who has had an abortion, a man who encouraged it, or even a doctor who performed an abortion, can all be forgiven through faith in Jesus Christ. We've come to the end of this animation. Once again, thank you for always following and commenting on our videos. May God bless you and help us more each day of our lives. Don't forget to subscribe and share this video around you. We hope to see you soon.